Okay, we grew up watching lots of cowboy movies, martial arts movies, typical boys who like your action and stuff. And I just remember watching a lot of westerns when I was young, and just it was awesome how somebody would come into town, there'd be a problem, they'd take on ridiculous odds, they had awesome skills with a gun, they could fist fight, they had to use a bit of cunning to take on superior numbers, and then they end up winning.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Deb, how are you?
Good. How you doing tonight?
Good, yeah. Had a good day, so it's been great.
That's good. How's the weather down your way right now?
It's not too bad, actually. We're going into winter here in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal down the East Coast. So we're going into winter, but it's not hectic. It only goes down to about 10 degrees or so. Interior of SA gets a lot colder. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably in the same transition period. Like, it's not quite summer here yet, so it's still very like rainy and kind of cool a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like the fall. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good to stay inside and read your latest book.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I won't go into too much detail, but my name's Chris Smith. I have a twin brother, Steve. So everybody always asks, he is 20 minutes older. Now that we've got that out of the way. I live in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal, as I mentioned. I'm 38 years old now, and I've been writing for about 6 years now. Always wanted to write.
Nice.
I was a huge history fan, English fan at school, but went into accounting after school and studied that at varsity. And then just one day I had a bit of time at work, and I've always loved Louis L'Amour. I've read most of his books and absolutely love the Sackets. There's just something about the cowboy riding into town, kicking ass, and then riding off to the sunset that just appealed. It's just awesome.
Right.
So had a bit of time, and I thought, okay, let's go for it. Let's start writing a book. And it just happened from there. I put down about 20,000 words, gave it to my brother and a friend to read, and they said, okay, cool. What happens? And that first book took 2.5 years. Ended up being 108,000 words.
It's always that first book.
Yeah, I'd have long gaps in between, but it taught me a lot of useful lessons about writing, what not to do. I was playing rugby at the time and fly fishing and all sorts, so I'd leave big gaps in between writing, sometimes 6 months, 3 months, 4 months. And the lesson I learned from that is write consistently, write a little bit every day, because then you stay in the story and you know where you are, you know what's just happened, you know how your characters speak,
the
what
tone
their habits
stays
are.
the same.
Exactly. And also the language. Obviously, I'm trying to make it sound a little bit more Western, a little bit more authentic. But your character has to keep talking the same way. He can't, for example, if you're making a movie, he can't in the first half of the movie have a British accent, and then next thing he's Chinese or American or South African. You've got to keep that tone right. I took the learnings away from that, and then just moved on from there, got signed up and started writing,
Good. Out of curiosity, how long does it take you to write a book now that you're 6 in?
A little bit better. I'm currently 12 books in. I've smashed out quite a few this year, So since we last chatted last year, I've been working quite hard on it. I'm just going to put the cam off there. What I've been doing is writing books of between 35 and 40,000 words. So at the moment, before, I've actually just recently had a big shoulder up. But before that, I was on 1 book per month. So I tried to get down about I'm trying to get down about 3,000 words a day. And then the goal is to get about 14 books written for the year. I want to see if I can do that. I've had 3 weeks in a sling, 5 to go. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
I just find consistency really helps you there. And the biggest
Mhm.
thing that's actually helped me with the writing is planning out beforehand. It doesn't need to be crazy in depth, but
Mhm.
I've come up with an idea. Okay, let's say Deb and Chris go to town and they stop a bank robbery. So, chapter
Mhm.
one, and it's all about moving pieces around on the chessboard. You can't just happen to be there. You have to have a reason for being there. And I find myself
Right.
picking holes in movie plots and things now about if that person hadn't been there at that exact moment, that wouldn't have happened, and the hostage would have died.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what
Mhm.
I do is I try and put in a bit of dialogue so readers get to know who the characters are, and then I try and look at it from the bad guys' point of view, the good guys, maybe a few different good guys, because my one book's a team of bounty hunters. There are three of them. So sometimes you might have a
Mhm.
fight scene from 3 points of view. And
That
anyway,
sounds difficult.
yeah, it's I'll go into more about that just now, but it's not so bad. Like I said, it's just planning out what you want to do and why. So you and I go to town and stop a
Mhm.
bank robbery. Chapter one: why did we go to town? So you and I
Right.
meet up. I go over to your house, pick you up, and I need to go get a new bank card, and you need to go get
Mhm.
groceries from town. So we go into town.
Mhm.
So that's chapter one. Just that little summary right there is why did we go to town? Now we've got a reason. Then we go to
Right.
town, we split up, you go do your thing, I go do my thing. So the next chapter will be your point of view, what you're doing. My chapter is my point of view. I'm in the bank and these bank robbers burst in,
Okay.
and there's a gunshot. Now, what I like to do, coming back to how you write chapters from different points of view. So I hear that gunshot, it's the guys shooting into the air saying, this is a bank robbery, everybody get on the floor. And then that's how it ends the chapter so that it hooks the reader and makes it intriguing for them. Then we switch to the next chapter,
Mhm.
your point of view. And you're walking towards the bank to meet me. And then you hear gunshots. You don't hear and I'll say, and somebody fired 3 gunshots. That's what I heard, my character, in the previous chapter. And
Mhm.
then the way I link it is that you're walking along and you hear 3 gunshots and you get all panicked and you end up having to come into the bank and together we overpower the bank robber. So it's little things like
Mhm.
that. It doesn't mean that you have to go crazy in depth, but I like to, like in our chapter, we'll write one where you dive tackle the guy, and then he gets the drop on you, and then changes to my point of view, maybe mid chapter or the next chapter, and I go and help
Mhm.
you, and whatever. So there are ways and means of doing it, but I like giving each character a little bit of airtime or a little bit of page time, I
Okay.
should say.
Do you always stick with one character, one chapter, or do you ever, mix them in together in one chapter?
I do mix them in sometimes. I prefer to keep it
Mhm.
one chapter per character, but sometimes it just calls for it that
Right.
you need to change character. I don't do one paragraph this person, one paragraph that. I'll just put a little bit of a break there and few symbols and
Mhm.
few stars just to signify the break, and then change the
Right.
point of view to somebody else. And I limit it to two.
Mhm.
Yeah, just 2 points of
Yeah, I
view there.
find when I'm doing multiple points of view, it when they start doing that back and forth, I don't know about you, but it tends to be like the end of the story, like when all the action is like happening
Yeah,
all at the same time. That's when those chapters tend to get muddled together.
exactly. That's why I find I have to plan it out. And what's
Mhm.
nice about when you've got your chapters planned out, and like I said, it's just I do everything in Excel. So literally, it's just 2, 3 sentences under a chapter, and
Mhm.
then you know where you're going. I have to write about this. This is where I
Right.
started off because it's the end of the previous chapter, and this is where I need to get to by the end of this chapter. And it can vary a
Mhm.
little bit. Sometimes what you've written as one chapter might actually end up being two because you've written this huge, awesome, kick-ass fight scene where everybody gets
Mhm.
together. I had one. Have you watched Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that fight scene that they had at the end, where they're just in the town and everybody's coming from left, right, and center, and it's just a
Mhm.
crazy gun battle. I have something similar to that, um, and that I had to break down into points of view, and that went into multiple chapters. So it was good fun doing that, but
Mhm.
I learned that I have to plan, and then Going back to what I said earlier, I keep a character Bible because I often have characters appearing in each other's books. So
Okay.
you need to keep the description the same.
Right, the same.
Yeah, my classic
And if you're like
example
me,
that
sometimes you need to remind yourself about what character looks like
exactly.
what or what
Hey,
they
hey,
were wearing or something.
with my memory, I write everything down in Excel so that I can just go back and look at it. Otherwise, I'd forget
Mhm.
completely, and I'd have to reread my books to figure out what's going on. But a classic thing
Mhm.
about keeping the character the same, I'm assuming you've watched the Jack Reacher movies with Tom Cruise.
Actually, I have not.
Okay. Have you read
I
any
feel like
Lee
I
Child books?
disappointed you.
No, no, no. Have you read
Yes.
any? Okay. So Jack Reacher is 6'5". He's an absolute monster. He's well over.
Mhm.
I think he's like 240 pounds. And Tom
Okay,
Cruise
big guy.
is, yeah, Tom Cruise is just
Not a big
under
guy.
6 foot. Yeah, he's under 6 foot and
Mhm.
he's nowhere near 100 kgs or 220 pounds. So immediately there, being a big fan of the Jack Reacher books, it jarred because, okay, the movies
Mhm.
themselves are really good. Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor, but it should have been
Mhm.
Chris Hemsworth or The Rock or, somebody massive, somebody
Right.
really big like that. Yeah. And then, so I
Mhm.
find that um, people, okay, I'm just basing it on how I get with my books, but people get attached to the character. So they want him to behave in the same way, they want the same mannerisms. It must be like you're dealing with an old friend. So
Mhm.
imagine your friend comes along and all of a sudden they've got purple hair and they can only speak German. Where you've always known them as a blonde who speaks English. It's you don't want to
Mhm.
scare your you want to build that fan base and actually make the people connect with the characters because they don't connect with you as an author. People don't really know what I look like. They don't know who I am as a
Mhm.
person apart
Yeah.
from what I
They
put
don't
on
care
Twitter.
about
And
the authors quite so
exactly,
much.
exactly, that's my whole point. I don't matter to them, but I want my character to matter to them, and I want
Mhm.
that character to be a familiar face, if I can call it that, a familiar presence, actually, is a better term, so that I
Mhm.
can build a following and people know, okay, this is a Steve Savage Bounty Hunter book, or this is a Jim Taylor Mountain Man book. I know what Jim's like. He goes out
Mhm.
there, he does his thing, he's fighting wolves, he's fighting bears. Um, we know what to expect from it. And if you
Mhm.
veer too much from that, then you can lose people because there's no consistency in your work and they kind of lose interest. I don't know if you've had that with any of
Right.
your characters.
I no, my characters, I don't have that many of them, so, like, it feels like I'm, like, intimately familiar with them. They don't vary too much.
That
Like, I
exactly.
know who these people are.
Yeah, they are real people. You don't see them, you read about them, but
Mhm.
they must become real people.
Right. Yeah, there's,
Yeah,
like, just real people living in my head. Makes you sound like a crazy person.
as my wife would agree with you.
So, what was it about Westerns? Like, what drew you to that genre? I don't know, I kinda wanna call it, like, a classic genre, like, it's a bit older and, like, a lot of people have very firm memories associated with them. What was it about the genre that drew you to it?
Just okay. We grew up watching lots of cowboy movies, martial arts movies, typical
Mhm.
boys who like your action and stuff. And I just
Right.
remember watching a lot of westerns when I was young, and just it was awesome how
Okay.
somebody would come into town, there'd be a problem, they'd take on ridiculous odds, they had awesome skills with a gun, they could fist fight, um, they had to use a bit of cunning to take on superior numbers, and then they end up winning, um, you know, triumphing, and then they ride off into the sunset. They're not out for themselves. It's like a knight, basically, but in the Wild
Right.
West on horseback.
That
And
is very true.
yeah, and reading Louis L'Amour books, he's still favorite Western author, and his books were just amazing. I
Mhm.
loved the Sackett family; those are my particular favorites amongst his books. But every book was good. When he
Mhm.
writes about being in the desert, I actually get thirsty sometimes because you're there in the desert with the character. Your
Uh-huh.
character hasn't had water for however long, so you haven't. Like I feel I haven't had water for however long, and he
Mhm.
he uses such good descriptions, but for me, I don't like too much detail. I like to be able to imagine it for myself. And he just has such a
Mhm.
good balance between giving you enough to paint the scene, but also not drowning
Right.
you in description. It's not 2 or 3 pages of
Mhm.
description. I just want to know that Deb went into the bank. I've got a basic description. You've got glasses, brown hair, and you're what, 5'6", 5'7". So that's all I need to know, and I can conjure you in my head. And I don't need to
Mhm.
know that you have on a white top and your shoes match your skirt or your pants or whatever, and your handbag's this, and the bank manager is wearing this, etc.,
Mhm.
etc. I can picture them in my head for myself. I just want to know what you did, what
Mhm.
you said, rough idea of what you look like, and how you went about kicking ass.
Mhm. I think that's always, like, the writer downfall is the description, like, it's always that really fine tightrope walk that you have to you have to give a little bit, you have to paint a picture, but not so much that it just bogs down the action or the actual plot line and the readers give up.
Yeah, I actually had that problem with my first book. Um,
Mhm.
I when I read, I often skip in-depth descriptions. I don't need to know what the place looked like.
Same.
I just need to know what's happening and why.
Mhm.
So I wrote my book.
Mhm.
It's called Blood on the Range, Caught in the Crossfire. So I wrote it the way I would read, and I kept the descriptions
Mhm.
short. My brother's the same, Steve, and he enjoyed it. He liked it like that. And I had somebody take a look, and they said, "No, you haven't put enough description. We need more detail. We need to know that it's a hot, sunny day and this." So I had to go and basically go against what I felt was right and add in a whole lot more
Mhm.
detail. And
Mhm.
I got married last year, April, and had a copy of the book. So I gave it to my father in law to
Congratulations.
read. Thank you. Thank you. Some good things came out of COVID. That was one of them. Thanks to Zoom and working from home with others. Um,
Mhm.
anyway, I gave my father in law the book to read, and he enjoyed it. And his only criticism he said at the end was that I went into too much detail. So
Oh,
yeah,
no.
and that's exactly what I felt. So since then, I've changed my style. And
Mhm.
okay, obviously, I'm going to think it, but I think my books are pretty good. They wouldn't be selling otherwise. And
Mhm.
I've submitted, I think, 3 now to readers' favorites, and all 3 have received 5 stars. The only thing,
Nice.
and generally every point of view, I think they have about 8 different things that they mark you on. The only thing I got a 4
Mhm.
for on the one was the cover. Otherwise, they like the content, they like the characters, the intrigue, da 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 da. Um,
That's
but
gotta feel nice.
it does. But then again, I've had other people give me ones and twos and threes on Amazon for those books. So
Mhm.
it was hard to take. It just breaks you when you see somebody saying, your
Mm.
book is." The one quote that I can remember is, "My book is ho hum at best." Um, but
Mm.
you actually you can't take things personally like that, because
I
not
know, you just
everything
kinda have
is,
to
yeah,
ignore it.
exactly, not everything appeals to every person. And I had to it was quite
Mhm.
a tough learning for me. But then I think about sports. I don't enjoy soccer or football, whatever people call it, but I love rugby. I
Mhm.
love the contact. Whereas other people think rugby is
Mhm.
barbaric and they want to watch cricket, or other people think cricket's boring. They want to watch NFL or basketball or
Mhm.
baseball. Everybody in
Right.
the world is different, and there's a saying that goes basically, you can't please everybody. So don't try. You just have
Right.
to build up your following. You'll have people who like it, you'll have people who don't like it. And maybe the people who don't like it have a few valid criticisms. So the one guy
Mhm.
said, "Who ties a horse by his reins?" So I was like, okay, cool. That's something I got wrong. But subsequently, I've corrected that. And I don't think I'll
That's
ever
good.
be a yeah, I don't think I'll ever be a perfect writer. But as long as I
Mhm.
keep learning and keep trying to improve, um,
Mhm.
yeah, the quality will just get better and better and better. I look back at some of my first book, or first 2 books, and I think, "Ew, what was I doing there, or what was I doing in that part?" When I read back through them, and
Uh-huh.
at the time I thought they were great. The plots are good and all that,
Mhm.
but just some of the writing was a bit
Right.
clumsy. But it's like anything
Mhm.
else. You don't go and run a marathon straight away. You have to do a bit of training. You have to put your
Right.
hours in. And I think that as writers, that's what we do. You write
And I
something,
I
you
don't
get,
think honestly, I don't think
okay.
any writer out there enjoys their early work.
No, but it's you enjoy it. Let me correct you there. You enjoy it at the time. You think this is awesome. This is
Yes,
the
you
next
think it's the
Hollywood
bomb
movie.
at the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when you go back and read it, maybe a few years later, you want to strap it to a bomb
Mhm.
and just
Yeah,
get rid of it.
I
And you think,
understand that.
yeah, and you think, why did I do that? What was I thinking? Oh my word! And you cringe a little bit and
Mhm.
die a little bit inside. Then you look at your more
Yep,
recent work and you
and
think,
then move
okay,
on.
exactly. You look at your more recent work and you think, okay, cool, I learned from that. That was better. Okay, so there is some
Mhm.
progress. I'm headed in the right direction. Um, yeah, my first person I signed with. Do you want to hear about how I actually got into the industry?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. I had no idea what writing was all about. So I wrote that first book, got it edited,
Mhm.
sorted everything out. And I thought, sweet, I'm going to be a millionaire. Somebody's going to make a movie. This is a
Mhm.
kick-ass book. Everybody's going to love it.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that didn't happen.
Mhm.
So I approached. I didn't know what a
Everybody's
literary
thought
agent
that
was. I didn't
before.
know how to get to a publisher. So I Googled and found a list of publishers. Yeah, and everybody wants things submitted differently. They're different cover letters. Some people want the whole book. Some people want the first chapter,
Mhm.
first three chapters, etc. So I
Right, it's different
submitted,
for every
and
single one.
yeah, exactly. And even within the same publishing companies or literary agencies, there are
Uh-huh.
different people for different genres. So you've got to find that right person.
Right.
You might have the best book out in your particular genre, but if you give it to the wrong person, they're going to reject you. I mean, J.K. Rowling
Mhm.
got what 20 rejections. There
Oh, did
must
she
be,
really?
yeah. I think there are 20 people out there who cry themselves to sleep at night because they could have been part of a billion
Right.
euro franchise. I mean, they're Harry Potter
Mhm.
shops, movies, Lego, etc. But anyway, so
Right.
I like emailed the world, sent myself out there, and you wait and wait and wait, and they reply or they don't reply. So effectively, I got
Mhm.
over 120 rejections. And after a few months, I thought,
Mhm.
to hell with that, I'm going to self-publish. There must be a way to do it.
Mhm.
Looked up, put it
Right.
onto KDP on the Kindle Direct Publishing on Amazon,
Right.
and yeah, there were one or two sales, and then this guy Cole Wren, he's a Texan, really nice guy. He gave me a
Mhm.
5-star review and said he doesn't usually write reviews, but he really enjoyed this book, and it reminds him of the traditional westerns of the '60s. So I was,
Uh-huh.
blown away by this. This was awesome for me. A little bit of
Right.
positive feedback at last. So I actually got hold of him, tracked him down on Facebook. We had a chat, and he directed me to this publisher.
Mhm.
Emailed them, they signed me up, thought this is fantastic. And then I'd just never hear from them. They weren't promoting the book. I think I was getting like $1, $2, $3 a month sort of thing from it. There's never really any
Okay.
feedback. And then COVID hit,
Mhm.
and I had this friend of mine message me and say, why aren't your books available? Why isn't your book available? What happened there? So I went onto Amazon
Mhm.
and it said, sure enough, it said, no, the book's not available. Messaged these guys and I got a very
Mhm.
formal email back saying, no, um, due to COVID, da 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 da, we are no longer able to whatever, 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 all very formal and obviously copied. And that
Right.
was it. They'd gone under and the rights to my book reverted to me. So I
Oh,
thought,
well, at least
okay,
you got your rights back.
yeah, yeah. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? I was
Mhm.
signed. That was like a little feather in the cap, even if I was getting nothing from it. It was
Right.
just a little bit of prestige. Um, and then I thought, what do I do? Do I self-publish again? Do I look for another publisher? And sat and thought
Mhm.
about it a bit. And I said, I don't want to go through the whole process of rejection after rejection after rejection. I need to find the right people. So I write
Mhm.
Westerns. So I said, okay, Google, I want a list of Western publishers. And bang, instead of giving me 6,000 different publishers and endless pages, up came a list of only 19 or 20. So that's a
Right.
lot more manageable. And I think that's a good tip for
Mhm.
people is when you're searching for a publisher, search for somebody who's actually interested in your genre. If somebody's writing police
Mhm.
procedurals or fantasy novels, you don't go to them with a horror.
Right.
It's not going to work out. It's not quite their thing. So I just emailed all these
Also, if you
guys.
read
Yeah,
that genre, check and see who the publisher is.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
if you have
That's a really
those
good tip.
copies of books in your house, yeah.
That's a really good tip. I actually should have used something like that, but I think all the westerns I read are quite old, so from the 60s,
Mhm.
70s kind of era.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, I got approached by Dusty Saddle Publishing, and they said no, they'd like to have a Zoom meeting. And I thought, okay, cool, it'll be
Mhm.
sometime next week. And they're like, are you free in an hour? And then chatted for about, yeah, I chatted to them for about an hour, and that was it. I was signed up. And yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, then since then, I've gradually improved. I look at writing as a fitness. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Um,
Mhm.
I used to just say to myself, okay, get down 300 words. Then it was, okay, get down 500
Mhm.
words. And then
Mhm.
I'd have days where I was really patting myself on the back because I'd written 1,000 words. Nowadays, if
Mhm.
I only write 1,000 words in a day, I'm disgusted with myself because I haven't done enough. I've been lazy.
Right.
And the most
Mhm.
I've written in a day is, I think it was 9,090 words or something like that.
Oh my god. I'm
Yeah,
so envious of that. Like, I don't know where you find the time to get 3,000 words, and well, I've got 2 small kids and,
yeah.
everything comes along with that, but holy crap, I'm so, like, impressed/envious. Slash
No, no
envious.
kids, no kids yet. And I do. We have a family business here, so while I'm overseeing staff, I get a bit of time to write. Also, a bit of an insomniac. So if I wake up at 3 in the
Mm.
morning, I think, okay,
That
well,
does help.
I'm not going to waste my time. So I'm just going to
Uh-huh.
write a little bit, and then I like to write late
Mhm.
into the evening. And I think the one week I managed 21,000 words from a Monday to a Friday, and
That's
it's
amazing.
doable. Yeah, if you stay up a little
Yeah.
bit later, and but also if I hadn't had the book planned out, I wouldn't be able to do that. My
Mhm.
first book I was writing, I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was making the chapters up as I
Mhm.
went along and thinking, okay, where are we going to now? Where are we going to now? Where are we going to now? And I think
Yeah.
part of that,
That's so hard to edit afterwards.
exactly, it's terrible. It's an absolute nightmare. And I think that that's kind of why it
Mhm.
took me so long to write, is because it was so
Mhm.
much of an effort to um, think about and actually plan the book and then write it.
Mhm.
Because you like have to
Right.
think up, okay, this must happen in this chapter so I can get to this. Whereas now when I plan the book out, I can just sit down, I know, bang, there's chapter one, cool. I'm doing about 2,300 to 3,000 words for that chapter. Doof, that's done. What's happening
Mhm.
in the next chapter, next chapter, next chapter? And I generally spend about a day planning out and then
Mhm.
get stuck into it, and I can finish a book in completely edited and everything in about, say, 18 days. So the goal
Now,
for
do
the
you spend
year,
a day
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, so do you spend a day making the plot of the book, or do you already have the plot in mind and then you're just writing down the plot in a chapter format?
I think about some of the ideas are already in my head, but I
Mhm.
started a new Mountain Man series a little while ago. I think it was about
Mhm.
December, and I had to do a bit of research, and I had to see, okay, what are the general things people are interested in when they pick up a book like this? So it's man
Right.
versus the elements. You've got to be fighting a bear.
Uh-huh.
You've got to be raging rapids. You've got to raft down them, and your life is in peril all the time because you're not just
Uh-huh.
fighting um, against an enemy. You're fighting against nature itself. So that's what people want to read about. So I had to do a bit of research, make it
Mhm.
more realistic, and then plan a story based around that new knowledge. Um, yeah, and I just go bit by bit. With the bounty hunter, there is an end goal in mind. So the original plan is 7 books. I'm busy with number 6
Okay.
now. Yeah, and then I want to conclude on number
Okay.
7, but there's potential to just keep going. So there is a basic idea there.
Mhm.
And with the Mountain Man ones, I just had to sit and think, okay, what would somebody want to read about? What would interest them? And I try and
Mhm.
bring different little elements into my westerns. So they attract the traditional readers, but also new readers. So
Mhm.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe is massive. Everybody knows who the Avengers are,
Mhm.
or at least 90% of the world.
Mhm.
And I love
Right.
them because I enjoy a team up. I like that dynamic where this
Mhm.
person's good at this person's good at that. You've got the Hulk and Thor
Yep.
smashing people, Black Widow's got skills, Iron
Mhm.
Man's got the smarts, and everybody's got their own place. So I thought, how can I bring that to a Western? So I have a
Mhm.
bounty hunter. Um, it's this guy who is a normal rancher, and then circumstances push him towards it. I won't give that away, but if anybody wants to know, that's Steve Savage, bounty hunter. And what
Okay.
happens is he ends up meeting somebody who's a martial artist who ends up joining the team. Then later on,
Okay.
another guy joins who's an inventor. You have all these different elements. So they
Mhm.
kind of teach each other the skills they've got, but he's still the best gunfighter. He's still the best martial artist. He's still the smartest guy
Mhm.
in the room. But the smartest guy in the room needs to learn to fight. So the martial artist teaches him, and the gunman teaches him a little bit about that. So you bring
Mhm.
in these different elements. You have the characters, also with their cultures. There's a bit of a different way in which they approach things. So what seems normal to the gunman who's an American might seem a bit barbaric to the English guy because he's lived in a city his whole life. He hasn't been out there, out in the Wild
Mhm.
West. Also bringing
Right.
the Chinese culture into it. There's certain things that he looks at differently, or certain situations, or he might approach
Mhm.
a fight differently because he's used to fighting with his hands and his feet, whereas
Mhm.
the gunman can go long range because he can just shoot someone. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
been fun doing the research and putting together these plots and highlighting different characters' skills and basically their personalities.
I'm curious, the bounty hunter, collection of heroes, how long did you take to do that? Like, did you do this over the course of 1 book, or did you introduce new characters over the course of several books?
Introduce the characters. So okay, they actually appeared in one of the Blood on the Range books. So I have this character Nate Todd. He
Okay.
gets pushed into a range war, and
Mhm.
I wrote a sequel to his story where he gets framed for
Uh-huh.
murder, and he's chased by these bounty hunters because there's a bounty on his head now. Everybody wants to kill him, and
Mhm.
I enjoyed those characters so much that I thought, okay, well, why don't I do an origin story about them? And I thought, how can I do this? They won't
Okay.
just be together the whole time. So I introduced Steve Savage in the
Mhm.
first one. Then I
Mhm.
introduced the next character in the second book and the third one in the third book. And I
Okay.
thought, I don't want them to just meet. Like there has to be
Mhm.
a bit of mystery about it, or they've got to gradually get to trust each other. You're not just going to trust strangers
Mhm.
straight
Yeah,
away.
there's gotta be conflict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they just have various ways of meeting up, and it's just about how they grow as a team and how they take on challenges. And they're going to make mistakes. You can't just have a perfect
Mhm.
team straight away.
No, that's boring.
Exactly. And then what I've also tried to do is create some strong female characters.
Mhm.
I think that's quite important. You don't just want it to be the same thing over and over and over again. So my
Mhm.
characters, they're still feminine, but
Mhm.
the one character, Bridget O'Connell, uh, she has intruders coming onto her yard, so she just goes and gets her daddy's shotgun
Mhm.
and takes matters into her own hands. She's not going to wait around to be a damsel in distress. She is ladylike,
Mhm.
completely feminine, but she's going to go out and stand up for herself if she needs to.
I as a woman, I like that, uh, mainly because I feel like a lot of the traditional written westerns were, like you said, like, they were, like, the '60s, and there wasn't really that big of a, I don't know, feminine presence, or if there was all, like, damsel in distress kinda deal.
Yeah, and like I said, I want my westerns to be a little bit different. So
Mhm.
my latest book, for example, what I've done with the three guys, the bounty hunters, is I've started giving them love interests. just to,
Okay.
so it's not, I don't go in for heavy graphic sex scenes or anything like that. I
Uh-huh.
don't even mention that. There's just a bit of flirting in the book. I try to bring a bit of humor. You know, people want to laugh a little bit. There must be some mystery. There must be
Mhm.
action. And I
Right.
try to bring in a
They wanna
plot twist.
connect.
Exactly. And I try to bring in a plot twist every now and then, just to make people think. You know, it's this person. This is the bad guy, and then you just swing
Mhm.
complete 90 degrees and you go off after somebody else. Anyway,
Mhm.
the latest book that I'm writing, the female character is a Pinkerton detective. So
Okay.
she's a knife fighter. She's good with a gun. Um,
Yeah.
she's actually a bit of a street fighter as well. So she's not going to overpower anybody, but given half the chance,
Mhm.
she'll take them out. She doesn't need any man to stand up for her. So she's
Right.
meeting the one character as an equal, and
Mhm.
actually pursues him, and he's quite a shy, reserved
Okay.
guy. So he's never had this happen to him. So he's all shocked and blushing like mad, and doesn't know what to do with himself or what to say. And I just thought
Uh-huh.
it's fun to take a character who's always confident, always knows what he's doing, and then just put him in a
Mhm.
situation where he doesn't know what the hell to do and what's happening, and he just gets, for want of a better word, he gets freaked out because
Mhm.
it's not what he's used to. And yeah, I had some good feedback from. I always get people to edit for me as I go per chapter, so I know the story is
Okay.
consistent, the tone's consistent. And then I usually give it to my mom, my dad, and my brother because they
Mhm.
different ages, different genders, and obviously they look at things
Right.
in a different way. You don't want one person looking at it. So my brother's very detail oriented. So he'll say,
Mhm.
you were in the hotel restaurant, and then all of a sudden you're there by the bar. Where was the transition? Where
Mhm.
did you actually make your characters get up and walk through? So I'll have to go back. I
Mhm.
mean, the one time because of him, I had to delete about cheapest, I think, 4,000 words. I could have killed him, but
Oh,
yeah,
I
what he
know.
said made
That sucks when
sense.
that needs to happen. Yeah.
Exactly. But rather do that than the story doesn't make sense. Then my
Mhm.
dad's very good with the spelling, so he'll check this, that, and the other and say, okay, you spelling error there, spelling error there. And mom was a teacher, English
Mhm.
teacher. So she'll be like, grammatically, this isn't correct. You need a comma there, this, that, and the other. And she'll just shape things.
Mhm.
So it's different viewpoints, and often quite amusingly for me, one of them will pick up a mistake. Somebody will say, okay, there were no errors in this chapter. And one of the others will
Uh-huh.
then say, okay, no, there are three things wrong there. So it's
Mhm.
they don't know about it, but for me it's quite amusing because they they often pick up on the same things, but sometimes one will pick up on things that the other doesn't, and that's what I want from my editing team.
Yeah,
So when I deliver
that is
my
what you
final
need.
product, yeah, it's already gone through an edit, so we can get it to market faster because it doesn't need
Mhm.
hectic editing once it's been to them. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's good fun. I really enjoy getting the feedback and seeing where I've gone wrong. Um, an
Mhm.
amusing story, I wrote myself into a corner with that first book where I hadn't planned things out. So
Right.
I needed to get out of this. So I went to my brother, who worked at the same company, and I needed a little bit of advice then. I said to him, okay, how are we going to do this? So we went outside and actually recreated the scene and acted it out and stuff. So there we were with finger guns, thumb up, finger pointing,
Uh-huh.
shooting each other and saying, okay, he's behind a water barrel. This is happening. There's six guys there. You know, they're all shooting at him. What is he going to do? And
Right.
eventually we figured it out. But I think anybody coming along and watching us would have thought we were playing cops and robbers or something, or maybe we'd lost our mind.
Right. Because 'cause you're
Yeah.
grown
So
adult men.
exactly, running around, ducking behind things, and pretending to shoot at each other. It was just working out the angles and things. But looking back, I'm glad the boss didn't, come outside.
You said your family helps you out with the I don't know, I guess line editing? Do you have anyone
Yeah.
that helps you out with, like, the developmental stuff?
No,
Or is that all in your head?
I just have it all in my head. Just put it all down and go for it. And then, like I said, as I write
Mhm.
each chapter, I've got them. it's not just the spelling that they're checking, it's also that the characters are in character, as we discussed earlier. You
Mhm.
don't want your person to just
Right.
suddenly be like a raging lunatic, he just wants to fight at the drop of a hat.
Mhm.
Whereas the last book, he was this calm, calculating, cool guy. He just
Mhm.
goes in, he doesn't get riled up. He'll just drop a person with one or two punches or a well aimed kick or whatever it might be. Or he's just really quick with his gun, so he doesn't get into fistfights. So that character can't then,
Mhm.
in the next book, be this guy who just fights whenever he wants to and he likes to use knives,
Mhm.
because that's completely out of
Yeah.
character. So it's the
It's
tone. It's a little bit of everything, I guess.
Mhm. Um, we are starting to run out of time here.
No worries.
What's your current project? What are you currently working on?
It's the sixth Steve Savage book. Um,
Right.
there's kind of an overarching plot where there's a big bad that they have to um, get to, but each each of the previous six books will develop on that, and they're taking out minor characters who are all part of
Okay.
this group that they have to deal with. Um, so I did that so I could develop the characters a bit, upskill them, get them to learn new things,
Mhm.
and then also let people
Right.
know who they are. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's going to be called Steve Savage Bounty Hunter, Bounty and Brimstone. Brimstone's the name of
Okay.
the fictional name of the town, and they just have to go
Okay.
deal. Yeah, they have to go deal with this gang that is causing a bit of trouble, and they cross paths with the Shannon Brown, the Pinkerton detective, that woman who's also
Okay.
quite hardcore in her own right. And yeah, just having a
Mhm.
lot of fun with it at the moment. Recently had shoulder surgery, so that set me back a little bit. So I'm going to try and
Mm.
play catch up a bit. Yeah.
Mhm. And where can they buy all these amazing books?
All 12 of my books are on Amazon. You can get them any country. I think it's Mexico, France, Germany, Japan, wherever it might be. Obviously, UK, US as well. And yeah, they're available
Mhm.
in Kindle version or as paperbacks.
Awesome. All right, and where can they find you online if they wanna hit you up and chat?
Okay. Sad to say, there are a lot of Chris Smiths out there who are also authors, and yeah, I thought I was unique. So I've got
Uh-huh.
a LinkedIn page, which is just Chris Smith, author of the Blood on the Range series. Anybody's
Okay.
welcome to connect with me. I also have a Twitter page, which is Skax Chris, also Chris Smith, author. Then there's
Mhm.
an Instagram page, Chris Smith, author, and a Facebook page. And yeah,
Awesome, and
it's Chris Smith, author. They can just look for me. If they type in Blood on the Range or Steve Savage,
mhm.
Bounty Hunter, then one of my posts will come up and they can find the page. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And yeah, I'd love to
Okay.
hear from people, hear what they'd like to read about in a Western. It's great to get ideas from people who are fans of the genre. And if anybody's read my books and wants to chat about them, more than happy to. It'd be great to get some feedback.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This was really fun.
Thanks so much. And yeah, thanks for letting me waffle on for a bit. It's been great fun.
It was great. Read and Write Podcast is edited and produced by Deborah Z. Barth. Music was provided by Lofi Girl and can be found at lofigirl.com or on their YouTube channel. Audio effects were created by Red Octopus and Black River Phonogram. Show notes and previous episodes can be found at readandwritepodcast.com.